Welcome to Arkansas Wildlife. Spring and summer mean fishing in the natural state, and this week we've put together a compilation of some of our favorite fishing moments from the past couple of seasons of Arkansas Wildlife. And a little later in the show, we're going to poke a little fun at ourselves and show you some of our not-so-favorite moments from some fishing episodes of the past. But first, we're headed out for a float trip on the Caddo River. All that and this week's winner of a hunting and fishing license right after this break. Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. We're headed out today to the Caddo River above DeGray Lake. The stretch we're going to float today is from Caddo Gap down to Glenwood, about a 6 or 7 mile float, and we're targeting smallmouth bass. We had a pretty big group with us. Scotty Wyatt, a videographer and producer here on the show. It's actually Scotty's home river. He deer hunts on a lease that's a little bit farther down on the Caddo, but he spends a lot of time on the river, so very knowledgeable about it.
I say, you know what the difference is between a lens flare and art.
An old friend of ours, Eric Kafka.
About $1,000 a day.
Who I've fished with for many years. He's also a videographer. Now, he was fishing on this trip, but we knew that he would be a good guy that we could hand the camera to if one of us got a good fish on, and he'd get some good video for us. Also, Mike Wintrow, the still photographer for Game and Fish, because Mike really was looking to get some smallmouth bass underwater shots. And then Brent Stipsky, another Game and Fish employee who works down at the Central Arkansas Nature Center, got a chance to get out in the field because he's usually in there in the Nature Center. We had a great group of guys. We set out pretty early on a weekday morning. A little bit cool to start things off that day, and also the water was a little higher and a little more stained than you would typically find on the Caddo, and that was a result of some rainfall a little bit earlier in the week. But still, we were pretty confident about our chances of catching some smallmouth on this trip. I'm a big believer in soft plastic baits. I mean, a 4-inch watermelon red Zoom finesse worm is probably my go-to bait for smallmouth. Also, little 3-inch or 3.5-inch tubes. But basically anything that mimics a crawfish or a small bait fish works pretty well usually. But I wasn't having the kind of luck that I typically have on those baits. It was really pretty slow. But you know who was having some luck, and that was Scotty Wyatt.
Look how beautiful that thing is, man.
Scotty fishes a lot on the Caddo River, and he had a different kind of bait that he insisted on using, and it was doing the job.
And that is the Rapala Shad Rap number 5. And this thing, I mean, it just wore them out. I was catching so many on this bait and fishing it so hard, I mean, it was starting to tear up. I mean, I was missing a hook by the end of it on one of the treble hooks. It got trashed around pretty good on the rocks, and but I just kept on using it, and I never lost it through the entire trip, and I still got it. I just need to put a new treble hook on it, and it's ready to go for the next trip.
As we moved downstream, one kind of funny thing that happened was a pair of dogs. These dogs followed us for miles and miles down the Caddo River, and it became kind of a joke. We were a little bit worried about the little one. He was kind of looking a little droopy and overheated. We gave him some water, but he wasn't real happy after he had traveled several miles on those 4 legs following us down the river. We were catching fish, but a little bit disappointed in the quality of those smallmouth that we were catching. Just pretty much small fish. Of course, I'm not complaining. I mean, the smallmouth fight hard, so it was a lot of fun. But the Caddo River is known for producing some pretty big smallmouth bass, and we just weren't finding those. But toward the end of the day, we did find a big fish. It just wasn't a smallmouth. And I'll give you one guess who caught it.
So I was casting below this rock, a little deeper pool of water, and I was reeling my Shad Rap in, and wham, it just hit. Instantly, I knew I had a nice fish. So I'm reeling it in, and here comes Mike. He's running in with his camera. Trey's got a camera, and I'm kind of panicking. You know, I don't want it to get off. I want him, you know, Mike's trying to get some good underwater pictures of some fish, and luckily it stays on. It's a good hook, and he gets some really nice underwater pictures that made the calendar. It turned out to be a nice largemouth bass. Typically on the Caddo, you can catch some really nice smallmouth bass, but today they just weren't cooperating. But I'll take that largemouth catch any day, and it really just was a good ending to our Caddo River float.
Arkansas is blessed with thousands of miles of streams like the Caddo River. I mean, you know, just pull out an atlas or a map and find those crooked blue lines in the Ozarks and Ouachitas, and chances are there's some good fishing there. Many outfitters can rent canoes, or you can take your own, or a kayak, fishing kayak, but you know, get out there and enjoy this resource that's really unlike anything anywhere else.
Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Zimmerman Sports Center on South University in Little Rock. Arkansas, it's called the natural state for a reason. No matter where you are in the state, you're never far from excellent fishing. From chasing world-class brown trout on the White River system,
man, I love this. This is awesome.
To casting for big largemouth bass on a hidden oxbow lake.
Come over that log.
Arkansas offers fishing opportunities as diverse as the anglers who pursue them. Here on Arkansas Wildlife, we have the privilege of showcasing the best fishing the state has to offer. And this week, we're bringing you some of our favorite moments from the past few seasons.
There are so many great places to fish in Arkansas, but it's always fun when you get to go to one of your favorite places, and for me, that's the Kings River up near Eureka Springs.
If you've watched this show for very long, you know that I love to fish on the Caddo. Look how beautiful that thing is, man.
Well, I grew up in South Arkansas fishing for bass and brim and catfish, but about 20 years ago, my family built a cabin up in North Arkansas where you can catch trout and smallmouth. So one of my favorite places to go is to my parents' cabin in North Arkansas, and it was really fun getting out with the guys and going up for a weekend shooting. We caught a lot of fish.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
But we're still not going to reveal the name of where we were fishing.
That was great.
And it's not always about the fish or the places where you go to catch them. You know, sometimes it's about the people that you meet. And that's one of the greatest things about this job is the characters that make fishing in Arkansas so much more interesting. I'm thinking of people like wildlife artist and fly fisherman Dwayne Hayda.
I know this doesn't look as big as yours, but it is really.
All you do is basically tie it in and then wrap.
Or fly tyer Santal, who shared his amazing story with us earlier this season and showed us how fishing helped him overcome the demons that built up inside of him after multiple deployments to war zones.
Well, a couple of the guys that we met while shooting the show are Ryan Burks and Drew Wilson, two young guys that are really into fly fishing.
Through tattooing, as full circle as it goes, I started fly fishing.
We followed them out on the Little Red River for a early morning fishing trip, and I can tell you this, the future of fly fishing is in good hands.
It's always great to see the way people use fishing to make a difference in the world. I mentioned Santow and the way he's using fly fishing and fly tying to reach other combat veterans, but there are so many stories of people using fishing to reach other people.
All right, give the dog a drink, lift the line out of the honey, back cast.
One of my favorite examples is the Mayfly Project. It's a group that was started in Arkansas that's now going nationwide that takes foster kids out and teaches them how to fly fish.
There he goes.
One of my favorite shoots from this season was on the Kings River. Some of our education staff take a group of kids for the weekend out on the Kings River. They camp, they get to fish, they introduce them into paddling, and just seeing the kids going down that river for the first time and experiencing all these activities, it was really cool.
Good job.
And let's not forget that fish are pretty tasty too, and can be healthy if they're cooked in the right way.
2 words, brim ceviche. Delicious. So 3 words.
Feels like a good one. Of course, it all comes back to the joy of fishing and that simple thrill of feeling a tug at the end of the line and that anticipation of finding out what is exactly on the other end of it. And you know, last year I found some really big fish on the end of my line and actually caught the biggest Arkansas largemouth I've ever caught on Lake Atkins. It's got to be a catfish. Oh my God. Oh my God, this may be the biggest bass I've ever caught. Come here, come here. Oh, woo, woo. And just a few months after that, on the Caddo River, I caught the biggest Arkansas smallmouth I've ever caught. Oh my God. Woo! That's what I'm talking about.
I didn't know anything about trout fishing. So 2 years ago, fishing on the White River, it's great, you know, right below the dam. Got to ride in those in the river boats. It's a whole new experience, and I got to catch my first trout.
Just a few months after that, we went on one of the best trout catching adventures I've ever witnessed. We fished with an old friend of mine, Christopher Bolden. The caddis hatch was popping on the White River, and it wasn't a fishing trip, it was a catching trip. For something completely different from that, we went down to Felsenthal National Wildlife Refuge on the Washita River and watched our fisheries division use a unique method of catching alligator gar for research purposes.
Earlier this season, we went to Washita and we did a little camp fishing trip, and fishing, hammocks, riding around in the boat, hanging out with the guys around the campfire. That's the best. That's the funnest shoot so far, hands down.
We're very fortunate to get to share these experiences with viewers of Arkansas Wildlife, but I can't lie, it's also a heck of a lot of fun.
Call him back. All right, you ready?
Eat it, you big brown.
It's okay. Look all right.
Professional shoot on manual.
Television is a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I have to agree with that after being in the business for a while. And what you see here on Arkansas Wildlife is the polished version. Ah, there we go. Yeah. But what you don't see sometimes may be as much fun as what you do see. And things don't always go as planned.
Oh God, what happened? It's upside down.
Flip the, there's a button on the top.
Hold on, Scotty, I'm upside down, man. It's like I can't.
Bottom left of the screen.
Oh, mirror. There we go.
Dude, he was barely on there. A lot of times you don't see the some of the reactions that Trey has while he's fishing. He doesn't like to miss fish. And, you don't want to see him when he's angry.
It's a good one. Oh my God, it's a good one.
Trey's still mad. Trey's still mad and upset.
We use a lot of GoPros, especially when we're filming fishing stuff like this. And one of the funniest things is when you come back to edit your video, every GoPro shot starts and ends with a big selfie because you got to look at it to make sure that the camera is actually rolling.
Why do I look so serious? What?
Generally, I'm the editor on the show, but I have shot video quite a bit. I usually shoot on land, but we went to Lake Atkins, and this was actually the first time I've ever shot in a boat. After a few hours, Trey hooked into this really big fish, and I was freaking out. So all I could think about was, don't miss this fish, don't miss this fish. So the version you see that aired actually is a little bit different than the version straight from my camera.
Oh my God. Oh my God, this may be the biggest bass I've ever caught.
Yeah, I had no idea what Dave was doing. I was completely oblivious. I was just looking at that fish. As you can tell, I mildly freaked out when I saw how big that bass was. So I don't know what Dave was doing. I have no idea.
Oh, come here, come here, come here. Oh, woo!
We've got a lot of cool cameras nowadays, but I think my favorite is got to be the drone. It's just a totally different perspective of what we usually get. I know fish are slippery, they like to squirm around and all that, but Trey cannot hold on to a fish to save his life.
Oh, sorry. No GoPro shot.
We try to get some nice underwater releases and it never fails. Never get it.
Oh. No release shot.
I'm not exactly sure how this segment is going to end, but I have a sneaking suspicion that my buddies Dave and Scotty are about to do me real dirty.
Oh yeah, here it comes.
3, 2, 1. Crappie cakes are complete. No, they're not complete. 3, 2, 1. Crappie cakes are pattied out. No, 3, 2, 1. Crappie cakes are pattied out. Crappie cakes are formed into patties. Next step, head to the stovetop. The crappie cakes are formed in 3, 2, 1. We formed the crappie. I don't know, man, I'm losing it. All right, 3, 2, 1. We formed the crappie cakes. The next step is to brown them on both sides in a skillet over medium-high heat and a little bit of peanut oil and butter.
Arkansas Wildlife presents the Watch and Win Giveaway. During each episode of Arkansas Wildlife, we'll give away an Arkansas resident hunting and fishing license. At the end of this season, we'll be giving away $500 worth of fishing gear with everything you need for outdoor adventures on Arkansas lakes and streams. It's all provided by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Visit the Arkansas Wildlife webpage at arkansaswildlife.com and click on the Watch and Win icon to enter. This week's winner is Chad LeBlanc from Van Buren. Congratulations, and thanks for watching.